Hey everybody, my name is Robin Pope. I'm an instructor with the American Canoe Association and a volunteer with the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. We're talking about some fundamental paddling techniques today, particularly fundamental for kayaks. We're going to talk a little bit about edging your boat and ways to support yourself when you're up on an edge. We put boats up on edge to help them turn, to help them maneuver across waves, to help us have more fun when we're out surfing on things. To get our boat on edge, we start out sitting upright in a good posture, the way we've talked about in previous videos. We're going to take weight and sink it into one butt cheek. So I'm going to sink a little weight into the left. I call this a number one edge, and that's a pretty common terminology. A number one edge is often all anybody's going to need, particularly at an entry level. If I need a little more edge to get a more dynamic movement, I'm going to engage my right knee a little bit and pop up a little bit more. And you can see the boat goes from just a little bit edged up to a little more edge. That's a number two edge. Number three edge is when I crank that up to the point that I need a little support from my paddle to keep upright. And number four edge is when I need to do something to get myself upright. So one is weight, two is knee engaged, three is paddle engaged, and four is when I need to get right back upright. If I mention edging, and I think about edging is what the boat does. People often think about leaning, and I think about leaning as what my body does. If I lean my body to edge my boat, eventually I do not stay upright. So I try to keep that good balance, edge, maintain balance with my head over my buttocks. If I have trouble with that, it often happens because something happens to my boat. And because I'm a land-based animal, if I start falling, I tend to reach out. If I'm up on edge and I reach out, I tend to have trouble. So first thing we want to practice is when you're up on edge, take the paddle out a little bit. As soon as you get a little unsteady, bring it back to the center. And you can see I can get pretty far up on edge, a little more than you can. I get up on edge, I center, and the boat comes up flat. I can do that more effectively if I use the paddle. I can do a low brace where my elbows are above the paddle, or a high brace where my elbows are below the paddle. As long as I'm in my cube, I'm in good either way. I'm going to show this though with a low brace. So if I get up on edge, I put my paddle out, I get unstable, I can draw the paddle against the water as I center it, and that puts some downward pressure, allows me to stay upright. If I do that as a high brace, works the same way. If you watch what my head is doing, I'm doing what's called a head dink. I get up on edge, my body makes kind of a C or a J lean. And from that position, I'm going to take my head, my right ear as I go to the left is close to my right shoulder. As I brace, I let my left ear come to my left shoulder, almost like my ear is pushing off the bottom. So we combine edging with bracing and head dinks to help stay upright. And later on, when we talk about rolling, that's going to transition nicely into the body mechanics for rolling your boat when you capsize all the way. Hope that was helpful. Thanks for listening.